Welcome to Sightseeing Japan, the podcast where we explore the land of international trade. I'm Paul Bresson.
And I'm Jason Nealing. Well, Paul, as I mentioned the other day, I think we should go to Nagasaki. I already felt like that before we did the research for this episode, but now that I've done the research, I feel even more strongly that that should be our next move.
I completely agree. I mean, we were pretty close to going a couple trips ago. And yeah, the same thing, doing the research, now I'm like, okay, this city looks awesome.
I'm excited to see the rest of kind of the middle of Kyushu, too. I want to get over to Beppu, spend some time around Mount Aso.
Oh, yeah.
Well, enough preamble, right? Let's get to it, because we both just said before we started recording that we have a ridiculous amount of notes for this, because it's just fascinating. I mean, it's a really interesting place, but the history specifically goes so deep. I feel like we could do an entire episode just about like one little piece of the history even.
Yes. And all of the history sets up almost all of the places that you go to see in Nagasaki. They're all historically relevant for different reasons.
Totally. Should we start with some basic Nagasaki facts?
Yeah, I think so. Nagasaki is located in a bay on the western edge of Kyushu, which is the southernmost main island of Japan.
Nagasaki is a port city. It is also the capital and largest city of Nagasaki Prefecture. Paul, what did you find for the population of the city of Nagasaki? Because I found so many weird contradictions.
I did too. The number I landed on that I saw a lot was just under 400,000.
Okay. I did see that number, but I felt like the more reliable looking sources were landing closer to like 500 to 550,000. Either way, it seems like the population has been rising pretty rapidly since like 2015. So that might contribute to some of the confusion I was seeing in these numbers.
Yeah.
But I did read that by 2030, they expect to have around 675,000 people if trends continue.
Wow.
It's growing fast.
Yeah. And Nagasaki, the city limits are pretty huge.
Yeah.
So you're counting people well outside the core area. So maybe different stats are kind of counting it with different standards.
Perhaps.
And then there's also Nagasaki Prefecture. Population numbers can sneak in for the whole prefecture sometimes too.
Yeah, I tried to focus specifically on the city, but even within that, I was finding a lot of differing stuff. Anyway, do you know what the name Nagasaki means?
I think that might be in my history notes. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Mind if I spill the beans here?
Go for it.
So Nagai means long, and Saki means cape. So Nagasaki means long cape. And if you look at the map, you will see why. The southern part of the city is a long cape sticking out into the East China Sea, which might make you think that it's pretty close to China, but it's really not. That East China Sea is pretty massive. Nagasaki is actually much closer to Korea than China. And Paul, let me know if this is boring or common knowledge, but I was curious about the difference between a peninsula and a cape. Did some Googling there.
Okay.
Do you know?
No, I actually saw something about this not long ago, but I don't remember well enough to articulate accurately.
Apparently, it mostly comes down to size. Peninsulas are much larger and surrounded by water on three sides, but a cape is a smaller, pointier protrusion. So for our fellow Americans out there, good examples might be Florida is a peninsula, and Cape Cod in Massachusetts, obviously a cape, and it's much smaller and pointier.
Okay.
What about climate?
Nagasaki has a similar subtropical climate that you'll find in Kyushu and a lot of southern Japan, with the mild winters and hot, humid summers. Although I did see an interesting note that it's one of the wettest cities in Japan. A little bit more rain than almost anywhere else.
Interesting. Well, I'm thinking I want to go in like late fall, maybe even winter, maybe like December.
Yeah, if we're going this far south.
I want those days where it's right around like 50 to 60 when we're out walking around. That's perfect.
Yep.
That's around like 10 to 15 Celsius, by the way.
Oh, you looked it up.
Just want to make our podcast as accessible as possible for our international audience.
That's thoughtful of you.
Paul, you ready to dig into the history?
I am so ready. This is fascinating stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So this part of the country has had a very long history of cultural exchange. You could say that that's a defining characteristic of Nagasaki even. But even before the city of Nagasaki existed, even going back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries, there was cultural exchange going on in this part of the country. So modern Nagasaki Prefecture includes a couple islands, Tsushima and Iki, which you might have heard of. Those were mentioned in an ancient Chinese text known as the Records of the Three Kingdoms as the oldest Japanese kingdoms that communicated with China. Did you know that?
No,
Pretty cool, huh?
that is.
In the 1200s, of course, there were those Mongol invasions that we've talked about many times before, and Nagasaki Prefecture was on the front lines of those battles. Not Nagasaki City specifically, but again, those islands of Tsushima and Iki were major battlegrounds. You might know that if you played the video game Ghost of Tsushima. Those islands are the setting for that game and its expansion.
So I believe that Nagasaki was just a small fishing village until the 1500s. And that's where what we know as Nagasaki City today really began. But to tell the founding story of Nagasaki, I need to tell about the history of the interaction between the Portuguese and the Japanese. The first recorded contact between the Portuguese and Japan occurred in 1543. A ship that had some Portuguese sailors on it was blown off course and landed in southern Kyushu. And these sailors ended up introducing firearms to Japan. And the local lord purchased 2 firearms and had his blacksmiths replicate them. And that was the beginning of firearms in Japan.
That was on an island down south of the main island of Kyushu, Tanegashima, I believe it was called. So we're not to the city of Nagasaki yet, right?
Correct. The Portuguese also brought Christianity to Japan and other goods that they hadn't seen before. And missionaries ended up converting a number of daimyo to Christianity. One of them was Omura Sumitada. And in 1569, Omura granted a permit to establish a port in what is now Nagasaki. And that was the beginning of the modern city as a place for Portuguese to trade with Japanese.
So yeah, the Portuguese brought a lot of new stuff to Japan. In addition to the guns and religion, they brought cannons, new styles of ships, obviously a new culture and language. But yeah, maybe the most influential thing, I mean, all these things were very influential, but Christianity was huge, especially in Nagasaki, and there's tons of evidence of that even today if you visit. Christianity spread really quickly. Tons of churches were built to the point that the city earned the nickname Little Rome.
In 1587, Toyotomi Hideyoshi ordered the expulsion of all missionaries and placed Nagasaki under his direct control.
Christianity is a threat.
And then things got even worse for the Christians, because in 1596, a Spanish ship was wrecked off the coast of Shikoku, and Hideyoshi supposedly learned from its crew that there was a planned Iberian invasion of Japan. So in response to this, Hideyoshi ordered the crucifixion of 26 Catholics in Nagasaki, and they became the 26 martyrs of Japan.
They were actually arrested in Kyoto and Osaka and then forced to walk to Nagasaki to be crucified.
That's a long walk.
Yeah. And these 26 Christians included Spaniards, Italians, and Japanese. They weren't even all just foreigners. And Paul, I thought this was fascinating. I had no idea that Japan ever crucified people. Had you heard about that?
I think only in reference to these people.
Well, I did a little digging because that just seemed crazy to me. And apparently in Japan, they crucified people even longer than the Romans did, and much later as well.
Wow.
Japan might even hold the record for using crucifixion longer than any other country in the world, if you can believe that.
Well, if they were still doing it in the 16th century.
Well, hold on. They started crucifying people around 1181 or so. Guess when the last crucifixion in Japan was?
Ooh, 1822.
It was in the 1860s.
Oh, man.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
I read way too much about Japanese crucifixion. Like, I was starting to think we need to do a whole episode on crucifixion in Japan. It's crazy.
So one thing to note on this, though, is that they were really cracking down on Christianity spreading in Japan, but the Portuguese traders were allowed to continue with their business because the business must go on, right? People are making money.
Yes, and once that port was established, it wasn't just the Portuguese that were trading there. There was also trade happening with the British, the Spanish, the Dutch. In 1600, there was this English guy named William Adams that showed up and established the Dutch East India Company. And if you saw the Shogun TV show from a couple of years ago, he was the inspiration for that main character, John Blackthorne. Did you ever watch that, Paul?
I haven't.
It's a shame. It's so good.
It's still there. I'll get around to it someday.
Got to get on that.
After Tokugawa Ieyasu seized power and consolidated his power, he also moved against Christianity. And in 1614, he completely banned it and made all of his daimyo that were Christians either renounce their Christianity or be exiled from Japan. And most of them chose to renounce their Christianity and made all their followers do as well. But a handful of them did leave Japan for other countries.
Wow. Well, in the 1630s, the Tokugawa shogunate started Japan's long isolationist period. They decided they'd had enough. But not only were foreigners not allowed to come to Japan, Japanese people also were no longer allowed to leave the country. And all trade with the West was banned for 214 years, except for with the Dutch. And even then, they could only trade at one specific place, which happened to be a man-made island in Nagasaki port called Dejima. Now, I do want to point out, Nagasaki did also trade with China and Korea and Russia and the Ryukyu Kingdom, which is now Okinawa. But that trading happened in other parts of the city. So Dejima was like purely for the Dutch. And Paul, do you know why it was only the Dutch that were allowed to trade there? Like, out of all of the other Western countries they could have chosen to do trade with, why only the Dutch?
I don't recall, though I do know that they got mad at the Portuguese after the Shimabara rebellion. And that's when they kicked out all the Portuguese who were living in Dejima, and they gave Dejima to the Dutch.
Yeah, so that rebellion you're talking about, that was a Christian rebellion, basically, right?
In 1637.
Yeah, that was, part of why the shogunate saw Christianity as a threat to its power. So the reason they did business with the Dutch still was because, it's crazy, the Dutch were Protestant, and all those other countries were Catholic, and the Catholics were like, we're going to spread our religion. Like, that's important to us. And the Dutch are like, yeah, we don't really care. We're just here to make money. And the Dutch actually gave ships and stuff to the shogunate to help suppress the Shimabara rebellion.
Sounds like the Dutch.
But it wasn't like the Dutch and the Japanese were all buddy-buddy either, right?
No.
The Dutch were very closely watched to make sure they didn't leave Dejima. They didn't get to bring their families over. They couldn't bring religious texts. And they couldn't have any unsupervised meetings with any Japanese people. Like, they were very segregated. It was very highly regulated. Eventually, they kept changing the rules as time went by, and eventually they were only allowed to bring 1 or 2 ships a year, even.
Wow.
So it's not like there was just this, nonstop flow of commerce with the Dutch.
It was a trickle.
Yeah.
Japan was 99% isolated.
Right. But I want to do a whole episode on Dejima now. The history is crazy. I kept digging deeper and deeper. Like, I did not realize how incredibly tiny that island was. The island of Dejima. I have numbers.
Okay.
It was 120 meters by 75 meters. That's 390 feet by 246 feet.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's nothing. And the conditions were not great. I read an account from a Westerner of the time who said that the Dutch were treated like criminals and Dejima was their jail.
Yeah, I can see that perspective. In 1720, restrictions were loosened and scholars were able to access Dutch books for the first time. And people flooded to Nagasaki to study European science and art, and Nagasaki became a center of learning, or what they called Dutch learning at the time.
Interesting. Later that century, in 1792, Nagasaki suffered one of the deadliest volcanic eruptions in Japanese history. There's this volcano over there called Mount Unzen, and it erupted, causing a massive landslide, which then caused a tsunami, which killed around 15,000 people. Paul, did you look at the map at this volcano?
I don't recall exactly where it was. No.
It's crazy. Like, if you look at the bird's eye view on Google Maps, you can still see the scar on the mountain from the landslide. Like, it looks like half of this mountain is missing.
Wow.
And it even created new islands in the bay. Like, so much land just washed into the bay that there were new islands that popped up. And the highest point of the tsunami that caused was estimated at almost 190 meters.
That's insane.
That's over 620 feet high. So if you think back to the 2011 tsunami, which was a huge deal, super destructive, this tsunami was more than 4 times higher than that.
All the super high tsunamis all come from landslides.
It's crazy.
Geology
Nature,
is
man.
crazy because it's normally like over millions of years, islands slowly rise, but then like a volcano can rip a mountain in half and create islands in a day.
Earth is scary, man.
Yeah. In 1808, a British Royal Navy ship showed up in Nagasaki Harbor looking for Dutch trading ships to sink because Europe was busy fighting the Napoleonic Wars. And the local magistrate ended up giving in to their demands for food and water and fuel because he felt he couldn't resist them, and then later committed seppuku.
Wow.
Yeah, out of his shame for helping the foreigners. But this did lead to some laws and reforms to strengthen coastal defenses and try to mitigate the threat of foreigners in the future. But that obviously did not work out if you know enough about Japanese history.
And if you don't, I'll tell you right now. In 1853, Japan was forced by America to end their isolationist period and open up to international trade. And of course, things changed rapidly in Nagasaki and the rest of Japan because all of a sudden, Western influence was pouring in and Nagasaki became the starting point for Japan's modernization. So you got all these merchants coming from France, Germany, the UK, the USA, of course, Italy, Spain, Russia, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland. And the more successful Western merchants built mansions in Nagasaki, some of which still exist today. You can visit them, and we will talk about them once we get through all this history. But these merchants brought with them new technology, new ideas, and the Japanese people also took advantage of their newfound freedom to travel. Many of them went to study abroad, further contributing to Japan's modernization. They would go study things in other countries and bring that knowledge back to Japan. The government itself also sent people abroad and paid foreign advisors to come to Japan and teach them things, get them up to speed with the rest of the world. And over time, Nagasaki became a center of heavy industry. Lots of factories, foundries, shipyards, etc.
Christianity was legalized again in this period in 1873. So all the underground Christians came out of hiding and were able to become openly practicing Christians again, and it made Nagasaki the center of Catholicism in Japan again.
And those Portuguese missionaries showed up and they're like, hey guys, remember us? We're back.
250 years later, and like the missionaries are still doing their thing.
Yeah. They're like shaking hands. Hey, I haven't seen you in forever. And of course, during this modernization, Japan saw what the British and the Americans were doing. Attacking people and spreading their empires, right? Paul's laughing. Is that not accurate, Paul?
It's accurate. I don't know if it's how I would have put it. But
how would you put it?
They saw the Western powers colonizing the world and thought that is the way to become a power ourselves.
That's what I said.
Sure.
Yeah, Japan, they wanted to be a world power, and they saw that the way to do that was to conquer people. Yeah?
Yeah.
And they did it in a way that was widely viewed as pretty brutal. I mean, I don't think imperialism is ever all that pretty.
I was like, you said that in a way like it could have been.
I'm not judging. I just feel like we have gotten some criticism for for maybe going easy on Japan during this part of its history. But historians describe the Empire of Japan using terms like fascist, totalitarian, militarist, and a police state. They tried to take over as much of their part of the world as possible and committed a lot of atrocities in the process.
Yes, they were extremely brutal everywhere they conquered. So as you mentioned, Jason, Nagasaki had been built up as a really important industrial city, also had a really important shipyard for the Japanese Imperial Navy, which is what made it a target during World War II. There were 5 bombing runs made on Nagasaki before it was hit with an atomic bomb.
Just firebombs, you mean?
Regular bombing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't know if firebombing is regular, but that's what they were doing at the time. There wasn't a huge amount of damage, but thankfully it worried them enough that a lot of the children were sent out of the city and were not there anymore when the atomic bomb did come. So on August 9th, 1945, Nagasaki was hit with a plutonium bomb nicknamed Fat Man. I either didn't know this or I think I maybe forgot this, but Nagasaki was not the primary target for that bomb run. It was actually Kokura, which is modern-day Kitakyushu, which we've been to, and thinking about that was a cloudy day away from getting destroyed with an atomic bomb is a pretty wild thought to have.
Yeah, I had no idea about that when I did this research. So when I saw that, Kokura, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And yeah, just the idea that, a plane shows up and this city was spared just because it was cloudy.
Yeah.
And then Nagasaki was destroyed just because it was cloudy.
And it was cloudy in Nagasaki too, but they were running out of fuel.
Oh yeah, it was like an emergency.
And
they had to do something.
Used radar to try to figure out they were in the right spot and dropped the bomb.
Crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bomb killed almost 75,000 people and injured another 75,000.
Those estimate numbers vary wildly.
Yeah.
But tens of thousands, no matter what way you look at it.
Also, I think important to point out that this bomb was actually more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. I think a lot of people might think that the Hiroshima one was bigger because
the city got leveled more because Hiroshima is very flat and Nagasaki's in these thin valleys. So the blast didn't spread out the same way.
Right.
Not that there wasn't massive damage to Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And the population of Nagasaki at the time was about 263,000. So you said 75,000 killed. I mean, the percentage there is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's massive.
And that was the last time to date that an atomic bomb was used in war. And I hope we can say that for a long, long time yet.
Indeed. Well, the city was slowly rebuilt, but some of the ruins were left as memorials. And new memorials were also built along with a museum. All of that can be visited today, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
The focus of the redevelopment of the city was to move away from the war industries and replace them with more shipbuilding, fishing, and trading rather than arms production.
So these days, Nagasaki is primarily a port city. Like you said, they build a lot of ships there, so it's still very much a center of industry.
Yep.
It also notably has the highest Christian population in Japan. Tokugawas did not manage to entirely stamp it out. about 4 to 5% of the population identifies as Christian, which is higher than I expected. And of course, it's also a great place to visit for tourists for reasons that we will get into forthwith.
Forthwith, I love
I used that word correctly, right?
Yes, yes. Well, now that we have all that great historical context, Jason, let's go tour the city.
Let's do that. I was thinking we can say we're starting at Nagasaki Station. It's a pretty central location. And most of the tourist spots in the city are east or southeast from the station. But first, I actually want to head north because there are a few important things up there, like the Peace Park, for example. Using the trams, you can get up there in about 15 minutes, or if you wanted, you could walk for like 40 minutes from the station. But Peace Park, Nagasaki, is of course a memorial for the victims of the atomic bomb. The park itself is just north of the hypocenter of the blast. That's, the point where the bomb was detonated. And the park is kind of a long, narrow park with several notable sites.
The peace statue is really impressive.
Think so?
Bigger than I thought. I was looking at some pictures, I guess, from the park angle, and it's really impressive. I like it too. The right arm pointing to the sky is apparently signaling the dangers of nuclear weapons, but then the left arm is held straight out to the side to symbolize harmony.
Nice.
It's also got that, one leg is up in a cross-legged position and the other one is firmly on the ground. That's kind of a striking pose.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never seen a statue in that particular pose before.
Yeah.
There's also a fountain of peace, some other sculptures, memorials, gardens. Did you want to go into detail on any of that?
No, but I think it'd be so cool walking around because there's a bunch of stuff that was donated by other countries or organizations, like different statues and things. So you get a lot of different perspectives on the remembrance and things.
Yeah. They even have the site of a prison building that was the closest building to the hypocenter of the blast. Across the street from that park, you can stand at the actual hypocenter, or under the hypocenter, right? Where there's another little park with a monument that's kind of in the middle of a set of concentric rings. And there's also a remnant of a wall from a cathedral that was almost entirely destroyed by the bomb. There was a temple nearby that was destroyed, and they have some stone lanterns from that. There's even an area where the ground was preserved after the bombing, and you can still see rubble and even personal belongings from that day in 1945.
Yeah, that looks really interesting.
Yeah. I'm kind of more interested in the Hypocenter Park than the Peace Park, to be honest.
They both look cool.
They do. I don't want to, yeah. But the Hypocenter Park also has about 500 cherry blossom trees, which would be pretty in spring, but also kind of brings to mind some of that symbolism of the cherry blossoms, right? The link with death there. You can go listen to our cherry blossoms episode to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were kind of a dark symbol, honestly, during World War II, especially. Across the street east of the park, you'll find the Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum, which of course has photos, artifacts, and information about the bombing. There seems to be kind of a complex here, it's not just a single building. There's also a memorial hall, there's an observation deck, they have other statues and memorials. And also right in that complex is the Nagasaki City Museum of History and Folklore. There's kind of a plaza that connects all this stuff. So it seems like you could spend a bit of time there.
Yeah, probably spend a whole day if you went to all the museums and saw all the sculptures and everything.
Yeah. So before we head further south, let's swing up to Urakami Cathedral. This is just a bit northeast from the museum, or straight east from the Peace Park. So remember I mentioned at Hypocenter Park there's that cathedral wall that remained from a cathedral that was destroyed. This is the rebuilt cathedral. So there's a museum here with more artifacts from the bombing, and even statues that kind of survived the blast. I mean, they had some damage on them, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's a pretty neatly designed cathedral. It's a red brick building in a European style. So kind of a cool building to see in a Japanese setting. But I think the coolest thing you mentioned is like the remnants and the statues that partially survived the bombing would be really cool to see.
Yeah. Important to note that this is still an active religious site, so you can't take pictures inside, but I hear it's pretty.
Did you see that the church was built on the grounds that they used to have picture trampling ceremonies?
Picture trampling ceremonies?
Yeah, they would make people step on a picture of Jesus to prove that they weren't Christian.
Wow.
So that's why they built the church here to kind of honor that, I guess. Or not honor that, but honor the people that had to go through that.
Yeah, wow. I had not heard of that. I feel like Jesus would understand, you know?
I'd step on Jesus before I got crucified.
Yeah.
Personally.
All right, so now let's head south. We're going to walk around 15 minutes south to Sanno Shrine's one-legged Torii gate. So Sanno Shrine was destroyed in the bombing. The only thing left standing was one half of their stone Torii gate, which still stands there as a memorial. The shrine itself has also been rebuilt, if you want to check that out. And they also have a couple surviving camphor trees that are visibly scarred from the bombing. But the Torii gate looks crazy, and this really reminded me of the one that we saw on Sakurajima.
I could see that. They're both stone rather than wood.
And they're both kind of symbols of tragedies.
Yeah. One from nature, one man-made.
Yeah. I wonder if there are more Torii gates around the country like that.
One's half buried, the other one's half destroyed.
Yeah, the one on Sakurajima was buried from a volcanic eruption. Pretty surreal to see.
Yeah, this one-legged Torii is right at the top of a flight of stairs. It's really striking.
Okay, so now we're going to keep heading south. We're going to hit up the area that's basically straight east of Nagasaki Station. And from there, we're going to continue on southwest toward the port. That's going to be our path through this part of the city. So first up, we're going to stop at Suwa Shrine. This is a very beautiful Shinto shrine up on a hill where you can get really great city views, especially at night. Did you see those pictures, Paul?
It's amazing. Suwa Shrine was established in 1614 as a way to counteract the influence of Christianity in Nagasaki and spread more traditional Japanese values.
Interesting.
The approach is beautiful. You go up huge stairways.
Yeah, you're going to want to be in shape to climb to the top of this thing.
Under multiple Torii gates, and then you get up to a really big gate building, and if you turn around from there, that's the view. That's eye-popping.
Yeah, I thought the Torii gates were really cool. It's a bunch of stone Torii gates in a big row. I've never seen that anywhere else before.
Yeah, very unique.
The shrine is also in a pretty woodsy area, so if you wander around, there are a few other shrines, including an Inari shrine with a row of red Torii gates. And there's even, Paul, a Toshogu shrine to Tokugawa Ieyasu. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. Did you read about the collection of Komainu statues they have here?
I remember hearing something about that, yeah.
These are the guardian lion dogs that you see at a lot of shrines.
There'll be like a pair of them, right? One on either side.
Often, yeah. There's a really diverse number of styles of them here, and some of them have been said to have special properties. There's
magical properties?
Yeah. There's a money doubling lion.
Ooh.
Sounds awesome, right?
I like that.
But the one I thought was really cool is there's a pair called the stop lions, and it's believed that if you wish to stop a particular behavior, such as drinking or gambling or smoking, you can tie a piece of paper or string around one of their front legs and pray for assistance, and it will help you to stop whatever thing you want to stop.
Wow. What do you want to stop doing, Paul?
I want to stop being a gremlin.
I know exactly what you mean.
No more eating after midnight.
You're such a gremlin. Oh, that's what you meant? Eating after midnight?
I'm a late night snacker. I need to stop that. I'm getting too old. I wake up with indigestion and heartburn now.
Isn't that one of the joys of life, though? Late night snacks.
Yeah, but, you just can't. You can't keep doing everything your whole life.
Can't indulge in everything all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Suwa Shrine is in a woodsy area with other shrines, and if you head to the southwest edge of that, you'll find the Nagasaki Museum of History and Culture. This is where you can learn all about the history we talked about earlier in this episode, especially the time when Nagasaki was one of the only ports open to international trade. And you can learn about what those relationships with those other countries were like, which I think sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I really want to go to this museum. They've got sections for each of the main countries that Nagasaki traded with. So there's a section for their relationship with China, one for the Netherlands, and one for Korea.
Awesome. They even have a reconstruction of the former magistrate's office. So the magistrate was the shogunate's representative. He was the guy that oversaw the port and the dealings with all these other countries during the Edo period. And it looks fancy, fancy tatami rooms, very official.
It looked like some of the reconstructed palaces even that I've seen.
Yeah.
Did you see they also rebuilt interrogation rooms and courthouses where they would deal with smugglers?
I think I saw that.
That looks cool.
Yeah. Ready to head further south, Paul?
Yeah.
Let's hit up Megane Bridge. You know what Megane means?
Glasses.
Eyeglasses.
Correct.
Just to be specific here. So this is Eyeglasses Bridge because it's a stone bridge. It's got these two arches, and those arches, along with their reflections in the river, makes it look like a pair of glasses, two circles next to each other.
I definitely think it's an attractive bridge, and it's kind of cool because you can walk down along the river next to it. There's also places where you can cross the river in front of it, and it just seems really relaxing and kind of beautiful views.
Yeah, there's a row of stones that you can hop across to get across the river.
Yeah, that's always fun.
This is actually Japan's oldest stone arch bridge. It was built in 1634, and the construction was overseen by a Chinese monk who had actually become the resident priest of a local temple, which happens to be our next stop on this little tour.
Oh,
yeah.
That ties in nicely.
Yeah, and like you said, Paul, there's that path along the side of the river, and there's an embankment there. There's this one heart-shaped stone in the embankment. Did you see that?
No.
People leave coins there and make a wish. This is another place where you can wish for love.
Okay.
I know you like seeking those places out, right?
I just remember being in Nikko and I missed on my shot. I took my shot and I missed the bucket, and it hasn't gone well since then.
It was a shame. Honestly, that's the main reason I wanted to pick Nagasaki for our next trip, just to give you another chance. You know?
Watch me put a coin on it and falls off right away and bounces into the river.
Yeah, the area around this bridge just seems like a really nice part of town for a romantic stroll, perhaps. I hear there are a lot of cute little shops and cafes around. There are a bunch of koi in the river, too, which seems weird. Why would you see koi in a river? Wouldn't they just float downstream? But there's kind of a little dam there that keeps them kind of in this section of the river.
Well, they probably like the fresh water.
What do you mean?
The river flows into the ocean, so they probably want to stay in the river and not
away
go
from
into the ocean.
Brackish water?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, if we head just a few blocks east of Megane Bridge, we'll find Kofukuji. But wait a minute, Paul. Isn't Kofukuji in Nara?
Yes.
Yes. Nara does have a Kofukuji, but it's entirely unrelated. They just have the same name. And that name means temple that generates blessings, or something like that.
It's a good name.
Yeah. But this Kofukuji is the oldest and one of the most important Chinese-founded temples in Nagasaki. It was established around 1620 by a Chinese monk, and it's the birthplace of the Obaku school of Zen Buddhism in Japan. Did you look at pictures of this place, Paul?
I did.
Notice anything unusual?
I mean, it's very Chinese style.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks a little bit different than most temples you'll see.
definitely. I noticed it most in the roof. Like the tips of the roof curl up a lot more than
Yeah.
normal Japanese ones.
Yeah, bright colors, a lot of red and gold, and it was originally a place where people prayed for safe sea travel because of all the Chinese merchants heading back and forth between the mainland.
And if we head a bit south of Kofukuji, we'll find Sofukuji. This is another temple of Chinese origin. This one was set up in 1629 by Chinese residents from Fujian province. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That sound good, Paul?
That sounded pretty good to me.
Thank you. It's got 21 cultural assets, including a couple national treasures, which really sets it apart from other temples in the region.
Yeah, this one's built in on the slope of the hill. It's really beautiful. And there's a bunch of buildings to explore. I was looking around at the pictures, and I thought this one looked really impressive.
I definitely think we can spend a bit of time in this part of the city because both Sofukuji and Kofukuji are on Teramachi Street, which actually has 14 temples and 2 shrines along it. So if you feel like seeing more temples and shrines, this is a great place for it. There's even a temple called Kiyomizu-dera. Did you see that, Paul?
No, what?
Yeah. Of course, there's the super famous Kiyomizu-dera in Kyoto.
Mm-hmm.
That name means pure water temple. And this one in Nagasaki is actually related to the one in Kyoto because it was founded by a monk who came from the Kyoto one in the early Edo period.
Okay. That's cool.
Yep. Now you might expect, we've been talking about these Chinese temples, and we know that Nagasaki has been a port city for a long time with a lot of international influence. You might expect to see a Chinatown, right? And there is a Chinatown. It's just a ways west of Teramachi Street, and it's called Nagasaki Shinchi Chinatown. Because of Nagasaki's unique history, this is actually Japan's oldest Chinatown and one of the biggest.
Yeah. This was originally an island, but the land around it has since been reclaimed, and it's just a regular part of the city now.
So let's focus on that for a second, Paul, because I kept seeing stuff about reclaimed islands, and I feel like that word can be confusing. My understanding is that Dejima and this Chinatown were both basically originally attached to the mainland, but then they dug a canal to turn it into an island. So I saw that referred to as a reclaimed island, like it was just land that they turned into an island.
Okay. That's really cool because I was suspect on if they had the manpower machinery to just go build an island in the bay way back then.
Yeah, it's not like they just poured a bunch of dirt until there was an island. They just took a piece of land and sliced it off.
Reclaimed is an odd translation then because reclaimed makes me think they're claiming it from the sea, but it was already land.
Right.
They just made it into an island.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
No problem. It also kind of explains the name Shinchi Chinatown, because Shinchi means new land. It's like they created new, I don't know. They didn't really create the land, but it's a new island because they chopped it off or whatever. Sure. Anyway, these days, neither of those are islands anymore. They kind of reattached them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Chinatown looks cool. I imagine you'd probably find street food there similar to what we found in Kobe's Chinatown.
Definitely. I think it looked really similar to Kobe's Chinatown from what I could see. But this is where you'll find some of the famous Chinese-inspired dishes that we'll get into a little bit later that Nagasaki's so famous for.
Definitely, yeah. All right, so super close to Chinatown, just on the west side, you can actually still visit Dejima, the place that the Dutch traders were restricted to in the Edo period. Did we already say that it's no longer an island? We just said that, didn't we?
Yes.
But it's still got a bunch of historical structures and reconstructions, so you can see what it might have been like when it was an island. And I actually heard that there are plans to turn it back into an island.
I saw that too, which is interesting. I was looking at a map, though, and I was like, where are they going to build these canals where they're not going to have to destroy a bunch of buildings?
I thought it looked like, As I recall, looking at the map, it seemed like it was pretty clear like where the line would be.
I think there was a tram line there, though. I was like, they're going to get rid of the tram. We'll see.
Maybe they'll just put like a little 6-inch stream next to the tram line, and be like, yeah, it's an island.
But you mentioned in the history section, I think, how small Dejima was.
Yeah.
And I think you can get a sense of that, even though it's not an island anymore, because it's just one street with buildings on each side that you walk down for a block or two, and that's it. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really tiny. But this is one of the places I'm most excited about in Nagasaki.
Yeah, a lot of the buildings look really well preserved. You can go inside, and they have it set up how it was. It sounds like you could really learn a lot here.
Yeah, they got the warehouses, they got residences, a seminary, the site of the Dutch trading post. Like the whole thing is basically just a giant indoor/outdoor museum.
Yes.
It's packed with history. So, Paul, you mentioned the tram. I want to hop on that tram and take it a couple stops south.
All right.
Or we could walk if you're feeling ambitious. It's less than a 20-minute walk, it looks like.
Yeah, trams are fun.
All right. We got to check it out anyway while we're here, right?
Yeah.
So let's go down to Nagasaki Koshibyo Confucius Shrine and Historical Museum of China. Didn't think I was just going to keep going, did you?
So it's a long name.
It sounds like two different things, but this is actually both a shrine and a museum. It's like it's one thing.
It's one of the only shrines in Japan dedicated to Confucius.
Yeah. It was built in 1893 by Chinese residents of Nagasaki. So obviously you'll see a lot of Chinese influence in the architecture here as well. Around the courtyard, there are 72 stone statues of sages or disciples.
Yes, life-size statues.
Yeah, and the main hall houses a seated statue of Confucius himself.
Yep. Did you see that the shrine encourages you to walk among the statues and try to find one that resembles a relative?
Interesting. I feel like I remember some other collection of statues where you were supposed to go look around for one that looked like you.
Okay. It makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, I like when they give you an activity.
One, it gives you that connection. Like, oh, wow, this one looks like my uncle,
Yeah.
He could have been a Confucius scholar. Although I don't know if any of them would look too much like our families.
Well, now I have Asian relatives, so maybe.
Yeah, there you go. At the rear of the complex is the Historical Museum of China. It was built in 1983 to commemorate the 90th anniversary of the shrine.
It's got a bunch of Chinese artifacts, art, and historical documents. I thought the coolest part of this place is the roof of the shrine. Like I said, those curves, the Chinese curvy roofs with the really pointy tips. I think that looks cool. And did you see all the dragon sculptures up there?
I remember it looking fancy. I don't remember all the details.
There are tons of intricate dragons up there. It looked really cool.
That is cool.
They also have koi you can feed.
Okay.
Not every place that you see koi will let you feed the koi, but I like that when you can buy food and toss it down to them. And if you've never done that before, like it might sound boring feeding fish, but they go crazy for that stuff. Like
It gets them going.
it's fun. It's fun to watch.
See
them.
them open their mouths and look all dumb. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, totally. Dumb fish. All right, now we're going to take a short walk southwest of the shrine to get to Oura Cathedral. This was built in 1864 by a French missionary. It is the oldest standing Christian church in all of Japan. It's also the first Western-style building in Japan to be designated a national treasure.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. It's dedicated to the memory of the 26 Christians who were executed in 1597.
Crucified.
Yeah.
It's a working church today, too.
It's really beautiful. It's a big white facade with some stripes of blue. I think it looks really, really cool.
It does look nice. I read a lot of reviews of this place, and the most common thing I saw is that the price is absurd. That's not my word. That's several people's words.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 yen per person to get in, which is pretty steep.
Though they also have a small museum off to the side, which you also get in, I think, with that ticket.
Right.
But
That helps.
I was hearing the same thing. Like, go look at it. You don't need to go in.
Yeah, unless you're super fascinated with the history of Christianity in Japan, maybe not worth it. I actually saw one review that said it was beyond absurd. But either way, yeah, you should at least see the church from the outside because it's pretty. And you're also going to want to be in that area anyway because just west of the church is an important place called Glover Garden. So this is an open-air museum that's got a bunch of mansions and other ancillary buildings that belonged to the city's foreign residents back in the day. So like I mentioned in the history section, all those Western merchants settled in Nagasaki after it was opened up after the isolation period, and the richest merchants set up these mansions. They look pretty cool.
The most prominent building here is the former Glover House, which is actually the oldest wooden Western-style building in Japan.
And it was the home of a really interesting dude named Thomas Blake Glover. Did you look into his life at all?
The second I saw that he was Scottish, I was like, I bet this guy had a really cool life.
He did.
I did. I did a deep dive because it looked like this could go so deep.
Yeah, I mean, he is an interesting guy. You could talk for a while about him. I just had a few highlights that I wrote down. So, like I said, he was from Scotland, a merchant. He was really important in Japan's industrialization, and he actually contributed to the Meiji Restoration by supplying guns and warships to the rebels who would end up overthrowing the Tokugawa shogunate. Which was very illegal, of course. I mean, that was...
Yeah.
But apparently he was sympathetic to the revolutionary cause. Like, I just thought it was interesting that he was willing to take that risk, you know?
You can support rebellion as long as you win.
Right?
You're in trouble otherwise.
And he must have been rich to be confident that he could supply... I mean, you know, he wasn't the only factor in that, but, like, he must have been confident that things were going to go okay, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was involved in other industries too, mining, shipbuilding. He actually, get this, Paul, he helped found the shipbuilding company that would eventually become Mitsubishi.
Wow.
Yeah. He also helped establish the Japan Brewery Company, which would become...
Kirin?
It is Kirin. And you know the Kirin logo, the monster thing, mythological creature?
The Kirin?
The Kirin, yes. You know how it's got the big mustache?
Yeah.
There's an urban legend that the mustache is a tribute to him.
He sounds like a mustachioed guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really heavily involved in the early westernization and industrialization of Japan. So you can explore his house. A number of other old Western buildings have been moved to this park as well. So you can explore those as well. They have really well-preserved rooms with furniture, so you can really get the feel of what it was like living in these places back then, which is always fun.
It's also got nice views of the city and the harbor, and you can learn a lot about Japan's shipbuilding industry. Like, I think this is really an area you don't want to skip. This is a really big attraction.
Yeah.
I mean, we even mentioned it when we did that episode about the entire island of Kyushu. That was episode 37, by the way, if you're looking for other ideas of things to do in Kyushu, you know, if you want to fill out the rest of your itinerary outside of Nagasaki, that might be a good source.
And it is called Glover Garden. It's really beautiful and well-manicured place.
Yep. And it's on Glover Street, which also has a bunch of nice shops and craft stores and food stalls. It just seems like a really cool part of the city.
Yeah.
Fun place to hang out. All right, so we basically wrapped up all the stuff we were going to see on the east side of the city, east and southeast from the train station. But now, if we want to head west of Nagasaki Station, right on the other side of the Urakami River, we'll find Mount Inasa, or Inasayama. This is a 333-meter-tall mountain, which has one of the top 3 night views in Japan. And I got to see another one of those top 3 recently, by the way.
Yeah, Mount Takodate.
It was pretty great.
Did you realize that the third one is in Kobe?
No. What?
Yeah, the third one is Mount Roko.
Oh. Well, Well, I think we should go back to Kobe. I mean, even for other reasons besides that. But yeah, we should definitely
I'm
check
down.
that out. I got to make sure I can hit the trifecta.
Right. I got to start from square one, but I'll get there someday. But the view is outstanding because we mentioned earlier in the kind of geography section that Nagasaki is built on a long, skinny bay, but then there's also, it's built in the valleys with the mountains coming up beside it. So you get mountains, you get city, you get bay. The city builds up into the hills too, so there's a lot of levels to it. Just everything about it is striking visually.
Yeah, it looks awesome. There's a ropeway you can take to get up to the peak, and the station for the ropeway is actually tucked away in a shrine called Fuchi Shrine. You could even hike up the mountain from the shrine if you wanted to. It takes about 40 minutes to an hour, but it's not advised to hike after dark because you might get impaled by a wild boar.
Yeah.
Or bitten by a mamushi.
What's a mamushi?
It's a viper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The busiest time at the peak is right around sunset, of course, because people want to see it right before the sun goes down, and then as the sun goes down, and then after it's dark. Just the same as it was in Hakodate.
As we usually do it.
Yeah, I'd expect it to be very busy up there at that time of day. But yeah, looks great. Another thing you don't want to miss, I'd say.
Well, that's the end of the city tour, but we do have a couple day trips to mention while you're in the area. The first one being Huis Ten Bosch, which I like saying that name.
Yeah, I think I've never been confident about the correct way to pronounce that. I think in Japanese they call it Huis Ten Bosch, but it's actually a Dutch name. Do you want to see how many ways we can butcher this name in 10 seconds, Paul? I thought that might be a fun little activity.
No.
Huis Ten Bosch. Huis Ten Bosch. Huis Ten Bosch. You don't want to participate? Okay.
Huis Ten Bosch?
Wheatenbach.
That's the best one. There you go.
So this place, technically not within the city limits, but it is a very popular day trip and a good place to soak in some Dutch culture. It's essentially a Dutch-themed theme park, and it's named after one of the residences of the Dutch royal family. It also happens to be the largest theme park in Japan.
Yeah, it's built to resemble a European city. It's got canals and windmills and gardens and European-style architecture.
They have a tulip festival in the spring.
Yeah.
You can take a boat ride down the canal.
Lots of seasonal flowers, too.
Yeah, it sounds pretty nice. We definitely need to check that out. And if you want to hear more details about that, we actually talked about it in our episode we did about theme parks, episode 94.
And I think we talked about it in the original Kyushu episode, too.
That sounds right. Yeah, that probably happened. So that would be a good day trip. Another day trip or half day trip that you could do is to a place that I think might be my top place I want to visit when we go to Nagasaki, and that is Hashima Island, also known as Gunkanjima, which means Battleship Island. It's a little island about 20 kilometers from Nagasaki port, and it's the site of an abandoned coal mining facility. I love abandoned stuff. Paul, you know this.
Yeah.
I was just trying to convince you very recently to break into an abandoned school with me. None of my friends are interested in urban exploration. What the heck? I mean, I guess it's technically illegal, but like, what's the worst that could happen?
A lot. A lot of bad things could happen.
I don't know. Anyway, it's not illegal to check out these ruins because they actually do tours of it. So it takes about 50 minutes to get there by boat from Nagasaki port. And just to give you some historical context for this specific island, at one point more than 5,000 people lived here to work at the mine, the coal mine. And like I said, I think I said, it's a small island. The population density on this island was actually the highest ever recorded anywhere in the world. Isn't that crazy, Paul?
That is wild.
To think that it's even more dense than Kowloon.
Yeah, with stats, right? Recorded. Were there ever real census data taken for Kowloon? You know, like
That's a very good point.
I would say it's definitely one of the most dense places ever.
But honestly, in some ways, it kind of looks like Kowloon. Like they just have these giant apartment building.
Yeah, it's just
things.
concrete built straight up out of the sea, it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they just had to build up because it was such a tiny island. And that's actually why it's called Battleship Island. It looks like a battleship because of all of these towers on it, basically.
Yeah.
So the island was closed in 1974 when the mines were depleted, and then it was just left undisturbed for over 30 years, just ruins sitting out there in the water until it became a tourist attraction in 2009 because the ruins look awesome. I mean, ruins are just awesome. Everybody likes those, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But not enough to break into a school, apparently. Huh?
If I was going to break into a school, Jason, I would not talk about it on the podcast.
So if I cut this out, you'll go with me to break into the school?
I'm not excited, but I haven't given it a hard no.
Okay.
So keep working on me.
There's hope. There's hope. Nice.
Unfortunately, you can't wander around the island because of the danger of potentially collapsing abandoned buildings. But they did build 3 observation decks that you can get off on the boat and get a bit of a look at the island from closer up. But I think you also get a pretty cool view of the boat going around the island as well. You get pretty close to it.
It looks awesome. I can't wait. But if you don't have time to get out there, there is also a museum about it that you can check out. It's near Oura Cathedral, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it looks like it has a bunch of really cool virtual reality stuff where you could go down into the mine as it was back in the day and tour around what the abandoned place looks like now. So if you really want to walk through there, there's like a VR walkthrough that you can do at this museum.
Awesome. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Out of abundance of caution, in a CYA, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal or break into anything or anything like that. Just to be clear.
That's clearly not true. You could say anyone but Paul. You're clearly encouraging me. No one else, though. Only us.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want. None of you should do anything bad.
Drink responsibly or something.
There's also a couple notable festivals held in Nagasaki every year. One of them being the Lantern Festival, which takes place during Chinese New Year, largely in the Chinatown area of Nagasaki.
Yeah, so this since it's a Chinese New Year, not a Gregorian calendar New Year.
Yeah, so the dates shift.
Yeah, it's a 2-week period between late January and early March. And this was, of course, started by Chinese settlers in Nagasaki. It looks awesome. Like, I love any kind of lantern festival, honestly.
Agreed. It's always going to be cool.
And you might be imagining, like, those round Chinese lanterns, but it's not just that. Like, they do have those, but there are also lanterns in all sorts of crazy shapes. It sort of reminded me of Aomori's Nebuta Festival. You know what I'm talking about?
Is that the one where they have, like, the stacks of lanterns that they hold on big sticks?
No, that's a different one.
Okay.
At the Nebuta Festival, they have these floats where it's like each float is just a giant lantern.
Oh, okay.
And they're like all in these different shapes. It's like lantern sculpture type things. The lanterns here at this one in Chinatown, it's like they have these bamboo frames inside them, or like bamboo skeletons, so they can make them into any shape they want. And they look pretty cool. Like I saw lanterns shaped like life-size people.
That's cool.
Yeah. There are also a bunch of stages where people perform. There's music and dancing and all that. Did you hear about this one performance with a mask-changing show?
No.
So there are these performers, and they like wave their hand across their face, and all of a sudden their face changes.
I've seen that before. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I like that.
Like magic.
A magic lantern festival.
Another popular festival is called the Nagasaki Kunchi Festival. This one dates back to 1634, which is the same year Dejima was built. And it's a multi-day celebration held annually from October 7th to 9th to honor the city's guardian deity.
One of the big highlights of this festival are dance performances put on by groups that are representing various districts inside the city. And the districts seem to rotate every year on who performs, so it's always fresh and exciting new performances to see every year.
Yeah, it really showcases the city's multicultural heritage. They got dragon and lion dances. There's a whale spouting dance, which I'm really curious about.
Yeah.
And there are 4 main venues for the festival. And I saw that you do need tickets to attend. It's not just something you can walk up to. And the tickets do sell out pretty quickly.
It looked like there was one parade or performance where you could just line the street and see. But otherwise, It looked pretty hard to get.
There are other performances around the city that you don't need a ticket for. But the main stuff is ticketed, and it looked very crowded, too.
There are large floats that are usually shaped like ships.
A nod to the shipbuilding history of the city, I assume.
Yep.
Ready to talk about some local specialties, Paul?
Yes, let's do it.
I'm excited about this first one because I really like this stuff. There's a little sponge cake type thing called Castella. This came from the Portuguese, and it can be found all over the place. I actually buy some here from a local Asian market. But Nagasaki is where it first arrived in Japan. And these days you can get a bunch of different kinds. You can get chocolate Castella, matcha Castella, milk Castella, cheese Castella. I haven't seen that one personally, but
Okay.
I like cheese anything.
Sure.
Pretty much.
Sure.
But these go well with your morning Japanese tea. I like to enjoy it that way. And my wife likes it with her coffee in the morning too.
Yeah, I bet that sounds good.
Yep.
This is like the common souvenir from Nagasaki.
It's probably what you find at those shops in the train station. Right?
Yes, definitely.
Another local specialty is called Champon. This one comes from China, not from Portugal. It's a noodle soup that came to Japan in the 1950s, actually. It contains pork and seafood and vegetables. It's kind of similar to ramen. It looks a lot like ramen, but the noodles are thicker and softer. And apparently they are cooked in the soup itself, which is different because ramen noodles are normally boiled separately.
Yeah,
and
it's a
then
one-pot
strained.
dish.
Yeah.
I saw it was designed to be inexpensive and healthy and filling. The idea behind the dish, which all sounds like good things.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it. There's also something called Sara Udon. Paul, do you know where that name comes from?
I know it translates as plate noodles.
Yeah. A Sara or osara is a plate in Japanese. That's just the word for plate. And udon, you've probably heard of udon noodles, those big thick ones. So you might imagine this is a plate of udon noodles, but in this context, it's not actually talking about those real thick noodles. It's kind of used in the way that the word soba can be used too, to just refer to noodles in general. Because the noodles in this dish are much thinner, and they're actually deep fried till they're crispy. They're a lot like chow mein, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a plate of crispy noodles, and then they're topped with stir-fried seafood, pork, and vegetables in a vegetable sauce. Even just from the description, it sounds more Chinese to me.
Yeah.
And this actually evolved from Champon, the last one we talked about.
Yeah, I can see a little similarity there. The next one is my favorite because this one's crazy.
The story behind where it came from?
Just what it is. So this is Toruko rice. And what this plate is it's pilaf rice, which is like seasoned rice, and spaghetti, usually tossed in ketchup sauce. And then it's got a crispy pork cutlet on top. And then it's topped with Japanese-style curry. What a wild dish.
Yeah, it's unusual. It looks like there's usually like a little mini salad, too, or at least shredded cabbage on the plate.
Yeah, it looks like every place has its own twist. That's kind of the basis of it, but I looked at a bunch of pictures and they were all different in some way.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But
Is
usually
it a
it's
curry
rice
sauce?
or noodles. And this is rice and noodles.
Yeah.
And curry. Yeah, it's curry.
I didn't think it was curry. I saw it described using some other word. Demi-glace is what I kept seeing. A demi-glace. Demi-glace or curry sauce. Okay.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of variation here.
Definitely. And I'm not even sure what demi-glace means.
So the name translates as Turkish rice, not because it has anything to do with Turkey, but because it represents the meeting of East and West in the cuisine.
Supposedly. That's one of the stories. I don't think anyone knows
Supposedly.
for sure where that name came from.
I've
Yeah.
just rarely seen a dish like this.
It's
just
definitely unusual.
seems like none of these things go together, but it apparently works.
One of those unique things that pops up from the melding of different cultures, you know? It
Yeah.
reminds me of taco rice in Okinawa. It's such a weird dish.
Yeah.
Just like a bed of rice with like taco meat and I forget, like vegetables on top or something. It's just weird.
Do things like
Or,
this.
it was like lettuce and cheese and taco meat on rice because
Yeah.
of the American soldiers and stuff in Okinawa.
Yeah. It's like an American idea of a taco on top of rice.
Bizarre.
Is this food for people who can't make up their minds? Give me a little bit of everything.
Yeah, or if you wanted to like stay a little bit safe, like I'm not adventurous enough to go with full Japanese food, but if I get a plate that's like half Western, half Japanese,
Yeah.
I'll find something that I can handle. Yeah, I saw there are around 100 restaurants in Nagasaki selling this stuff, and it's pretty rare outside of Nagasaki Prefecture. So if you're in the area and you're into trying something new, definitely give that a try.
Yeah. All right, Jason. So how do we get to and around Nagasaki now that we know we need to come here?
I'm glad you asked, Paul, because that's the next thing in my notes, coincidentally.
Oh, funny how that works.
To get to Nagasaki by train from Tokyo, it's going to take at least 6.5 hours. Don't do that. Like it's just not a good idea. You can't even get all the way there on a Shinkansen. You got to take some slower trains, or at least a slower train in between. And the train would cost you almost 30,000 yen, which is like around $200 USD. So I would recommend instead just hopping on a plane. That's going to take less than 2 hours from Tokyo and cost around $100 one way.
I definitely agree with you. Although I will note that the airport is about a 45-minute bus ride from the city, so there's a little extra travel time there.
That is true.
But still way better idea.
Yeah.
Also, if you're in Fukuoka already, it's only 1.5 hours by train, though you do have to make one switch. Although this blew my mind. I'd either forgotten about this or I didn't know, but there actually is a Shinkansen in Nagasaki, the Nishi Kyushu Shinkansen, but it just goes like a little bit into Kyushu and then just stops at Takeo Onsen and doesn't connect to any other Shinkansen.
Weird.
So you have to take a train from Fukuoka to Takeo Onsen, and then you can transfer on that little tiny Shinkansen line.
Huh.
I think they're planning to eventually connect it to the Kyushu line, but for now it doesn't. I thought that was... I don't think there's another Shinkansen line in all of Japan that's not connected to all the rest.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Once you're in the city, we mentioned the trams. There's 5 different tram lines. There's also that JR line that goes through the northern part of the city.
Yeah, but most of what we talked about is pretty walkable. Like a lot of Japanese cities, you know, the
Yeah.
downtown area is... Everything's kind of clustered together, more or less.
That's part of what makes me want to go here, is it seems very walkable. There's hardly any skyscrapers in Nagasaki either. It's all just kind of like buildings and built up into the hills. It's like a small town, big town. I've heard some people describe it as.
Yeah, sounds really cool. I like that, when you can just like maybe use the tram once or twice during the day, but most of it you're just kind of strolling through town.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Paul, you got anything else about Nagasaki?
I'm all out of Nagasaki info for the moment.
All right, well, in conclusion, go to Nagasaki. history is unique and fascinating. And like I said, Paul, I'm going to add Dejima to our list of potential episode topics. I want to keep digging into that history. And I bet once we go to Nagasaki, we'll have a lot more to say about it, too.
Yeah, I was actually really interested to learn about Dejima because that comes up in the Ghost in the Shell anime.
Really?
In that futuristic story, they turned Dejima into an island again, and they put all the Asian refugees there that they don't allow into the rest of the country after World War III.
Oh, I don't really remember anything about Ghost in the Shell, honestly. It's been more than 20 years since I watched that, I think.
Oh, wow.
I remember it being a good one, though. Welcome to PB&J After Hours. I am Jay.
And I'm PB.
That's right, you are.
Okay.
I think I accidentally called this PB&J After Dark last time. I don't know, a little different spin on it. But After Hours is what we're committing to, right? That's the final name for this segment.
I'm okay with that, unless you just want to change it every time. But you called it out. I was going to see if anyone noticed.
Well, I want to have a final name so that I can write like a 30-second stinger.
After Hours. I like After Hours.
All right. Well, what do you have to talk about today?
Did you hear about the intelligent bear that was attacking people in Japan?
I didn't hear it was intelligent. I heard about a bear.
That was like the headline. I guess they had it trapped in a building or a complex, and even though they had it surrounded, it somehow still escaped. Like this bear just kept getting away from them
It's like
and
picking
attacking
locks
more
and stuff.
people or something. I think it was like crawling out through high up windows or something.
What city was this in?
I don't remember. I think it was Tohoku somewhere.
I don't remember. I heard something about a bear. That's all I know. Well, that's cool. Japan's still got a bear problem. It's nice.
Bear attack's still trending.
Well, I wanted to talk about a new video game I've been playing recently.
What's
It's
that?
It's not that new. It's new to me. I just started playing it.
Sure.
Since we mentioned the islands of Tsushima and Iki in this episode, I wanted to talk about the sequel to the game Ghost of Tsushima called Ghost of Yote. I remember I'd mentioned this before it came out because I was really curious what it was going to be like. And Paul, it is awesome. It is an improvement on the first game in pretty much every way.
Wow, and you really liked the first one, didn't you?
I really did. The first one was one of my favorite games ever. And on the second one, like, everything about it is just a little bit better. They've added, like, all these new mechanics, little mini games to just make it more immersive and interesting. You can set up camp now and, like, craft things. And they have little mini games where you, like, strike your flint to start the fire. And then you pull the trigger slowly to, like, blow on the tinder to get it to burst into flame and stuff.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
Just lots of little things like that. There's a new thing where you can do sumie paintings with the little touchpad. You know, you actually do brush strokes with your finger on the controller.
Wow.
It's cool.
So is it your favorite game ever?
That's tough. I got to give Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 the edge
Okay.
over the
Okay.
Ghost games, but it's definitely up there.
Okay.
Probably in the top 3. I mean, there are very few games.
Two of your favorite games that had sequels that were better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's very rare for me to find a game where I can just sit for literally hours and not move and feel totally engaged.
There's only one problem with it.
What?
They're going to run out of Mongol attacks to make sequels out of.
This one isn't a Mongol attack.
Oh, this one isn't?
No. And if I had one criticism for this game, it would be that the story isn't as grounded in real life history. But really, even in the first one, the setting of the Mongol attack is more just a backdrop. The core of the story is actually about the character and his relationship with his family and with samurai ideals, you know.
Okay.
But this one, it takes place in 1603. So the new Tokugawa shogunate has just been established, right? And they're trying to extend their power to Hokkaido, then known as Ezo. And the main character, her story is basically that she's just avenging her family, who were killed by a lord who's trying to control Hokkaido for himself and not give in to the shogunate.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty cool setting or backdrop.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of going around and just hunting down these people that killed your family. That's kind of the main thing. And there is stuff, that ties in with the real history. Like you meet a bunch of Ainu traders, which is interesting. And there's stuff about like Hokkaido culture at that time and how it was kind of a wild place where people were far enough away from the centralized power of the time that they kind of felt less of that influence,
It was Japan's Wild West era.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it, especially because I noticed in the soundtrack for the game, it's very kind of Western influence, like Western movies, I mean. Like the music is with Japanese instruments, but it also sounds like a Western in the American Wild West. It's an interesting fusion of those styles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you found a new favorite game.
Yeah, me too. Well, before we go, got to thank our Shogun level patrons, Doug Whitfield, Georgette and Caitlin Seymour, John W., Kelly Ardong, Pamela Arola, Jack, Brady K., Yasmin, Kevin Harris. Can't thank you enough. You guys keep us going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we have one emperor right now. Eric, thank you so much for sticking with us.
Thanks, Eric.
I just want to say, we are a listener-supported podcast. Once in a while, we've done these little partnerships. We did like the JR Pass thing. We have like our discount codes for some things that you can find on our website. But really, the bulk of our support, the vast majority really comes from our listeners. And it's awesome that we have so many that are, willing to step up and help us out. If you would like to join that group, please check out our Patreon. There's a link in the show notes, or you can go to patreon.com/sightseeingjapanpodcast. Paul, what are we talking about next time?
Our next episode is School Life in Japan.
All right. We can talk about all those years we spent
watching anime about school life in Japan.
Exactly. I learned a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it was fairly accurate. We're going to talk about the things that anime gets right and the things that maybe it idealizes a little bit. Or
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.